And a very pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to O'Neill's Grill for our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon with JMU football coach Everett Withers. I'm your host once again, Kurt Dudley. Well, the Dukes this past weekend, they went up to the University of Albany for the first time in the program's history for a Colonial Athletic Association battle, and with a field goal with 4 seconds remaining from Ryan Maglio, well, they nipped the Great Danes by a final score of 31-28. That leaves the Dukes at 1-2 in the Colonial Athletic Association, and Coach Withers 3-3 overall. So we are at midterm, we might say, having played 6 games with 6 games remaining. And how would you describe the Dukes season to date?
Well, Kurt, obviously at 3-3, you'd like to be, have your record be a little bit better. But I think we're trying to take an approach in this journey, as we've talked about how you grow your football team. I think we're growing in a lot of areas. I really enjoyed how our kids are starting to, and I say start, they really have for a long time, really embraced being around each other and competing with and for each other. And I think that's something neat to see as our team progresses through the season. So I have a lot of positives in that aspect about our football team. I think we're growing in some areas football-wise. I think we're understanding the process of taking care of the football. We've done that really well the last couple of weeks. No turnovers, I believe, for the last 2 weeks, which is really special for a football team, a young football team to do. I feel like we're starting to become a little bit more aggressive on defense, and we're getting a bunch of hits on the quarterback. And I feel like we're growing in some areas. Our offensive line continues to grow. I think our kids continue to play hard and again, play for each other. So it's really neat. I really like this football team. Everybody says the record 3-3. I look at it a different way, and we'll continue to do that.
Coach, you wanted to rush the football up at Albany. You said last week that was kind of the primary objective offensively, get back to running the football. You didn't run as many plays this week as you had any game this season, but in terms of rushing the football, did you meet your objective there?
Well, yeah, I thought we did. I think we rushed for 239 net, which was kind of a goal for us, is to run the football well. The interesting thing is when you go on the road, I really believe this, when you go on the road in an environment you have never been into, your run game's got to carry you. We gave most valuable player honors to 3 running backs on Sunday. Jawan Latney, Khalid Abdullah, and John Miller all got the most valuable player. And the reason they got the most valuable player is 82% of their yards came after first contact. Which is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Guys were getting hit and falling forward and getting 2 and 3 yards, and that was kind of our objective. We really challenged our guys. So running the football was an objective that we met on Saturday.
How were you able to accomplish that, considering that you're going up against an opponent that had yielded only a third of what you were able to accomplish on Saturday?
Well, I think the challenge we put to our offensive line and our running backs and our offensive staff took that challenge, and we feel like let me go back and Coach Gattuso is an unbelievable football coach. He's a defensive-minded guy. Those guys play really good defense. They did nice things in their scheme. They did some movement up front that hurt us at times, but I felt like our guys kind of stayed true to what we do on offense. They stayed on their tracks up front, offensive line-wise. Made some plays, some guys, like I said, 82 yards after first contact. That's a lot of will and some running backs. So, again, hats off to our wide receivers blocking on the perimeter. We were much better blocking on the perimeter. And we made some explosives in the pass game. So when you run the football, your whole offense kind of, goes a little bit better for you.
The 70 plays that you ran was a season low. It's actually 17 less plays than what you're averaging. Curious to know how you avoid a sense of urgency or anxiety when you know that, well, we're not going to have quite as many plays to run in this ball game. Does that change the mindset at all of your offense?
Well, no, it doesn't. It just we know we have to end up with points. In every drive, you start looking at the end of a drive and you start saying, did you get points or did you not? Regardless of how many drives you have, you need to have points at the end of that drive. The great thing about it, our red zone, we were 100% in the red zone. We got in the red zone 3 times, and we scored points 3 times, 2 touchdowns, and obviously a game-winning field goal. So getting drives in this game getting points in the drives in this game was important because we knew that that's the way Albany plays football. They play football taking the air out of the ball, and that's what they do, and that's how they've been successful. And it's a little bit of an NFL pro mentality, but it is what it is, and we knew it going into the game.
You also knew that you wanted to stop the run against Omar Osborne and this running offense. How do you feel that you did that?
Well, there were some ups and downs. I thought for the most part we limited them from getting as many big plays as they'd had previously. You watched the tape before our game, and there were explosive plays all over the place for a very talented running back. So we felt like we did some good things that way. We can obviously continue to improve, but I felt like our guys had the mindset to stop a very talented running back, and we had some positives in that fashion.
Yeah, Osborne finished with 129 yards. His longest run was a 26-yarder there in the third quarter, but it was a run that was not involved in a scoring drive for them that evening, so did indeed keep him limited. One of the adjustments you had to make, you lost one of your captains on defense there early, actually the first drive. How did that change what you were doing defensively, and namely, who became the quarterback on defense?
Yeah, you lose a guy like Dean Marlowe, who's arguably our best player on defense and one of our captains in the secondary. So, that means a lot when you lose a guy like him, and then you end up with 3 true freshmen back there playing. It was big. We did make some adjustments in the game plan, but we felt like we had some young kids go out there and compete. Did they play well all the time? No. But I hats off to Marcel Johnson going out there playing. He ended up with 14 tackles, had a sack, quarterback hit. He did some good things. He did some things not so good. But he played really hard, and we felt like that if we could continue to stop the run, that we did not feel like we would lose the game through the air.
You continue to come up with these guys, just like last week we were talking about Taylor Woods, a young man out of North Carolina. Now we're talking about Johnson, another young man out of North Carolina. And oh, by the way, there's this guy named Ryan Maglio who shows up in your office and says, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to contribute. Coach, what was it that encouraged you to encourage him to stay with the Dukes when he walked into your office last weekend?
Well, it's funny. He shows up in the spring, and he's this guy that's kicking the football, and he's, obviously kicking it from the other side. He's kicking it left-footed, and he's very talented. I mean, he could get the ball up. He's kind of what you want in a PAT field goal guy. He can get the ball up and in the air very quickly, and so he does a nice job in that aspect. And so he made it. He goes through the spring. He goes through, and we don't invite him back for summer practice. We don't. He's not one of the 105. The 95. So he does not come back until school starts because we didn't have a spot for him. But he's a guy that you watch him. He's probably out there now in our practice field or our game field kicking right now because that's what he's done. And he's one of those guys that just has a role on your team because he works. He's got that work ethic, and we've seen a lot of really good kicks from him in practice, and it was just an opportunity for him. We felt like we could take some off of Connor Unknown. Connor's done a really good job for us on kickoffs, and we felt like we wanted to kind of make sure that doesn't falter. So keep him in that role and take some of the PAT field goals off of him. With a guy that's getting the ball up really well for us, and Ryan's done a good job, and hopefully he'll continue to do that.
You certainly don't see the opportunity often arise where you end up in a second down, you're going to kick a field goal, and then you get a botch play that allows you to really have an extra try at it. Please go through that sequence. You and I talked a little bit about it with Blaine Stewart there as your holder.
Well, we knew with 55 seconds, that was plenty of time for us to get in field goal range. We felt like Ryan was from about 45 out, he was going to be good. So as the series is going, we knew we wanted to leave ourselves a chance with if there was a botched hold that we would have another chance. You always want to do that at the end of a game. On top of that, you have to leave yourself enough time also. So that's why we kicked it at 10. Instead of letting it get down to, too late. If we would have gone at 4, the game would have been over with. So we left ourselves 10 seconds. and knew we had a couple downs, there if something didn't go right. Blaine Stewart did a great job of understanding that if he did not get the hold correctly, which he didn't, and he'll tell you, he said, Coach, I bobbled it. He said, I bobbled it. He caught it. He threw it right at an eligible receiver, incomplete pass, third down. So heads up on a guy that's a coach's son, that understands the game. And he told me before he went out, because I was trying to explain it to him, he said, Coach, I got it. I got it. So what a nice job by Blaine.
Indeed it was. Let's turn it over to other members of the media here at O'Neill's Grill as we continue with our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon with JMU head football coach Everett Withers. Gentlemen?
Coach, jumping off that last question, how did Blaine's decision-making in that play kind of a testament to how quickly your young guys have really adjusted and learned and really gotten it this season?
Well, one thing you notice about our team that I notice, and maybe not many people on the outside notice, is our team, they really don't flinch. When things go bad, they kind of keep going, and they never really flinch. And that's what's neat about the growth process. I think that goes back to we talk all about our leadership training and stuff in the off season and in summer about, there's events and there's responses to events and then there's an outcome. And I think our kids understand that there's events, you don't panic, you have the right response to it. And our kids are learning to have the right response to things that don't go well. And that didn't go well for Blaine. And Blaine knew how to have the right response by taking the ball and throwing it at an eligible receiver and making it third down. So I think it is a testament to the growth of our young kids a little bit. I think that's one of the things you see.
And you mentioned earlier that you don't see the season right now as 3-3. So how do you see your team at this halfway point right now?
Well, again, I really like this football team. I just left our complex, and what's so neat about days off in college football is it's a day where they're off, but good football teams or teams that have a chance to be good or want to be good, a lot of players are in your building on their day off. And we go over there and I look at the training room, there's guys getting treatment, they're down there getting well, they're down there having a good time fellowshipping with each other. You go up to the coaches' offices, they're hanging out in the coaches' offices, they're wanting to get notes for the game plan. It's a really good environment right now, and that's one of the things culturally that we wanted to make sure we changed here. We wanted to make sure our players felt comfortable coming in that building and being around their coaches on days off when it has nothing to do with necessarily football. So that growth, I think, is taking place in our building. Our kids enjoy themselves, they enjoy being around each other. So again, you start seeing that growth, and hopefully that translates into better play on the field, better practicing, and better results on Saturday. So again, I keep going back to the word journey. It's a journey, so we just continue to go on that journey.
And you've now played 3 games in this conference, finally getting your first conference win. How would you characterize, given that this is your first year in the conference, the type of play in the CAA right now? I
think this, very talented teams in this conference. I knew that coming in. I knew this was a very talented conference with very good football coaches in this conference, and they do a good job. I don't think you're going to go out scheme any coaches in this conference. I think what you have to do is prepare your team each week, knowing that you're going to have a battle no matter who you play each week. I felt like, the first 3 conference games have been against very, very tough physical football teams that are well coached, and I think that'll continue throughout. So I think we all understand that as coaches coming in. So, it's about what we expected.
Coach, can you talk about that last drive and just the composure that you guys showed going down and getting in field goal range?
Well, again, I go back to how we practice. Going down the field in 55 seconds is not really, a big chore for us. I think we do it enough, in practice every day. And, our offensive practice is like maybe 10 or 15 2-minute drills in practice every day. So it's really not something that's unusual for us. We felt like we had plenty of time. We had timeouts to use, so that was important. We just felt like we needed to get in field goal range enough to be able to kick the field goal and win the game.
You talked about, Coach, having minor victories during each game. Obviously, you got the overall victory. Defensively, you had a big goal line stand, and then your second 99-yard drive for a touchdown. Talk about each of those, if you will.
Well, I think that was a pivotal part in the game. We were able to go down there on the goal line and against a very good rush offense, stop them down there 2 plays in a row. And I felt like that gave us a lot of confidence we needed defensively to go ahead and continue in playing as hard as we played. And then for our offense to take it off the goal line. And I look back again last night. I think we had 2 penalties in that drive that put us behind the chains. And for us to overcome the 2 penalties in a 99-yard drive is pretty impressive. So, and I think we had another drive for 80-some-odd yards also. So I think our offense is I think they're comfortable in situations no matter where the ball is on the field of executing and getting points.
That don't flinch attitude that you talked about, where does that come from, and why does such a young team already have something like that?
Well, I think we're working on it. I don't know if we have it totally, but I think we're working on it. I just think it's, how we try to build a culture. Again, I go back to events plus response. Events and the response equals the proper outcome. We put our team through a lot of different events during the off season, during two-a-days, and we made it very tough on our team. I think our team feels comfortable going on the road because of how we work and how our culture is. And I think it's helped them grow into their roles right now. And we're only, I would hope we would only improve and get better at it. We're not 100%, but I feel like our kids feel comfortable with each other as far as, when you talk about accountability. And I think that's real important.
Going back to that game-winning touchdown drive that ended up being, what is Vad like during those drives, and how is he able to put those drives together like that? He did it at Lehigh too. How is he able to do that?
Well, I think he has a lot of confidence in the other 10 guys on the field. I think the other 10 guys have a lot of confidence in him. And I think when you have that confidence in each other, I think it's the ability to go out and execute. And those guys all feel good with each other when they're out there on the field. And to me, that's what you got to have. You got to have guys that have a lot of confidence and a lot of trust in each other that you're going to do what you need to do to go, go win the game.
Going back to the play with Dean, talk about that play a little bit, if you will, and what's his status for this week, being ejected? Does that cause him to miss any time this week?
No, he's fine. It happened in the first half, so he's eligible to play. We got a view from the end zone copy, and the end zone copy shows him with a shoulder in the chest area. The receiver takes 2 steps. He hits him with a shoulder. He does not hit him with a helmet. It's not helmet to helmet. There's actually a helmet to helmet on Vad Lee that the guy I thought should have been ejected on Vad. They threw the penalty, but they did not eject him. So, it goes back, and I had a meeting today with our AD. I said, it's really not fair to not have this conference be mandated to have replay at every game. And I know we're working that way, but it really puts a lot on those officials to go out there and have to make the right call because, it'd be great to be able to go back and look at that and say, we didn't get that one right, whether they thought they got it right or not. It'd be nice to be able to do that. And I think that, you'd like to be able to go back and look at some of that stuff.
One of the things you've talked about this year is performing better on first and second down. You didn't put yourself in too many bad third down situations Saturday night. Talk about your offensive output on first and second down, if you will.
Well, we want to be better on first and second down. Sometimes in the run game, you're going to have some gains that don't look pretty. And we got ourselves in some of those third down. Fortunately for us, we were 10 of 17, I believe, on third down, which is, really good. But we were able to withstand some of the blitzing, some of the stunning that they were trying to do to stop the run. They knew we were coming in to try to run the ball, so they were going to all out, try to stop the run. So it made it hard for us to do, but for us to go in the game and finish the game with 239 rushing is a testament to our offense.
What was your tailback rotation like? I know Jawan was a lot early, and then Khalid came in. What was the plan going in for those guys?
Just give the ball to the guy that we felt like Jawan's very tough inside runner. We wanted to run the ball inside, and we felt like once we got some rhythm running the football, we wanted to bring Khalid in the game and spell Jawan some, and then have John Miller thrown in there some. So. Again, the one great thing about our football team right now, the most depth we have is at running back. And I think it's really, really good to have that depth because now guys have to go practice every day really well. If they don't practice, then they don't play. all the time. So they have to help us on special teams. You need them on special teams. You need them in a lot of different areas. So I think that rotation was the proper rotation for us, and we felt good going in the game with it.
I know you want to run it every game, but did the weather have anything to do with you guys keeping it on the ground more?
I felt like going into the game, no matter what the weather was, we wanted to run the football.
Okay. And back to those 82%, I think you said, after contact. How good is that? How high is that? And what's a regular number for those guys?
That's very high. 82% is very high. I know when we kept the stat in the NFL, it was somewhere around 60% was a good number. 82. I think John Miller's number was 96. I think Jawan's was in the 80s, and Khalid's I think was in the high 80s. So it was a very good number for us to do that. And again, that's a testament. We put a challenge to our running backs because we knew they were going to have a bunch of guys in the box, and there was going to be a free guy that they were going to have to account for, and they did a nice job with it.
Coach, talk a little about Towson. What do you kind of expect from them?
Well, you watch them on tape. They're young, they're inexperienced in some spots on offense. I still think Coach Ambrose has done a really good job of building a culture and a program. He lost a lot of kids from a very talented team last year. They want to run the football. They've got a quarterback that's, an efficient quarterback throwing it. He can get on the edge. He can make off-schedule plays. Again, I think, they've got a talented running back that we're going to have to do a good job stopping this week. Defensively, I think they're a good defense. I think they've got some talent. They've got some size. They've got some long, tall, linear guys on defense, which to me is what you try to go recruit. So we expect a tough physical ball game. We expect a ball game that we're going to have to take care of the ball. We're going to have to run the ball. We're going to have to be efficient, and we got to stop the run on defense.
Talk about your defensive front. You hit Will Fiocchi a lot.
Yeah.
Sacked him 4 times, but he was hit a lot, especially in the early part of the game. What was your scheme? Did you show them anything different, anything new that you had not done to this point?
I don't think we did. I think we're probably a little bit more pressure on first and second down than we have been the first 2 games and first few games of the season. The last 2, I think we've been a little bit more pressure on early downs, and a lot of that pressure has been to stop the run and play action pass. And one of the long runs, maybe in the 26-yard run, I called the defense that they creased us on, and as a head coach, sometimes you need to get out of the way and let your guys do their job. But we wanted to be a little bit more aggressive and go attack the run with pressure and know that pressure will turn into hits on the quarterback versus play action pass. And that's the last 2 weeks we've been able to do that a little bit with some scheme stuff.
Oh, I was going to ask you about more about Marcel Johnson. And after the game, you said you'd have to look at the tape and then maybe kind of the secondary in general with those 3 young guys. How did they play? And I don't know, what did you see out of those guys?
I thought the 3 kids obviously I think Jimmy's played well. He didn't play quite as well as he's played in other games, but he's still playing at a pretty high level as a true freshman. Marcel Johnson actually played pretty well. He had 14 tackles total. Again, I said he had a sack, a quarterback hit. He and Aaron Peak had a couple plays that they make them. We're probably talking about them being co-rookies of the week if they'll make those plays. So again, the growth of those guys will continue. I was really impressed the fact that Marcel was able to go in the game and execute calls that obviously were met for Dean Marlowe, and he was able to go in the game and do some good things. That only helps us down the road when those young guys get in the game.
Right. I know they hit a lot of big plays, and maybe on that game-tying drive, did that come back on any of the youth out there and guys that were in different roles or anything like that?
I think it's about guys making plays. We had a couple opportunities to make plays on the ball. We didn't.
It was that simple.
Yeah.
Is there a little bit of extra pressure this week to get now a conference win at home? I guess is that like the next logical step in this journey that you're on with this team?
I don't know if it's extra pressure or not. I don't look at it as pressure. I think what we'd like to do is go into our bye week feeling really good about our football team. We've kind of looked at this as a 1-game season. We really started it last week. We said, we got a 2-game stretch before our bye, and now we get to go take a breath. after this week. So, our kids are kind of in that mindset that we want to do whatever it takes this week to go win. So we've got that positive feeling going into the bye week. That's kind of our goal.
You mentioned the no turnovers and how that was impressive. Since the Villanova game, Vad has been pretty careful with the ball. Has he changed anything with what he's been doing? And
I don't think he has. I think he's just, I think he feels more comfortable with, the throwing game, and also with the, we're not fumbling. We played a team this past week in Albany that was, I think, one in the country in turnover margin. Very good strip attempt team. They were trying to strip the ball all night. And for our guys, our running backs, our quarterback, our guys handling the football to hang on to the football, that was very impressive to me, because going into those kind of games on the road, you need not to have turnovers. And for the last 2 weeks, we've done a good job with that.
Coach, you did go into that game against Albany, a team that was among the national leaders in run defense. As you look at Towson today, going into this week, and who they may have played in the past, it seems like teams have been a little more opportunistic in the air against them. Mm-hmm. As you've analyzed Towson, what has been the proof in the pudding from that standpoint?
Well, I think they're like most good football teams. They want to go stop the run. And I think that, most teams I've been around, that's kind of their MO, the good football teams. You want to go stop the run. And people have hit some plays over the top on them. But I don't think you change, or I think that's going to be their MO going throughout. We want to try to run and establish the run. So it'll be a good battle. We've been a lot like this past week, a team trying to stop us from running and us trying to run it. And the same thing on the other side. They want to run it and we want to stop the run. So it'll probably be a lot of similarities in the two ball games that we just had and one we're going to have.
Of course, Terrence West no longer with him. He's now carrying the football for the Cleveland Browns. So they have a new tailback in there. He is a sophomore, and that's Darius Victor, 5'8", 210 pounds. What have you seen of him? How would you describe his style?
I think a tough, hard-nosed runner. Again, I don't think they changed their scheme in the run game. They want to run the power. They want to run the ball between the tackles. They'll occasionally get the ball on the perimeter with him. I think they want to do a good job of not turning the ball over. So the run game's real important for them. And the play-action pass game off of that is going to be important for them. So we're going to have our challenge just like last week. We're going to have to go stop the run, stop the early play-action pass, shots down the field, the things that you traditionally have to stop when you're trying to stop the run.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how aware were you of that run they had last year? Did you know about that at all when you were at Ohio State? Or
not really.
Their run? Okay.
All right. Any other questions, gentlemen? All right. Thank you very much. The Dukes at home this weekend. It is family weekend, taking on the Tigers of Towson University, and kickoff will be from Bridgeforth Stadium at 12:30. Thank you for joining us this week here at O'Neill's Grill for our weekly fan and press luncheon. Have a great football week, everyone.